Long before the aurora fell from the sky and before Riley Robinson was the only soul fighting to survive, another story unfolded in these alien depths. It was the story of a father, a son and a mercenary, the first people to call this planet home and the first to be devoured by it. This is the complete tragic story of the Degasi Survivors. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Bailey, and on this channel I break down the dark stories and hidden lore behind some of the best games ever made. So if this sounds like something for you, then don't forget to like and subscribe. It's free and helps a ton. Now enjoy the rest of the video. Our story starts about 10 years before the Aurora's own disaster. The ship was the Degasi, a Mongolian vessel on a mission. On board was its captain, Paul Torgal, a 79-year-old corporate big shot kept in his prime by some very expensive life extension tech. With him was his 19-year-old son Bart, a brilliant kid with cerebral implants that made him a master analyst, and then there was Marguerite Mader, a 42-year-old mercenary hired for security, and you could tell just by looking at her that she'd seen it all. Paul, who had a reputation for making risky but profitable choices, spotted Planet 4546b and decided to take a little detour. He was hoping to scan the shimmering blue marble for valuable resources, but as the Degasi slipped into orbit, it wasn't met with opportunity. It was met with a blinding flash of green energy from the quarantine enforcement platform, an ancient alien weapon that sent the ship spiraling into the ocean. Only 3 of the 6 crew members made it out alive: Paul, Bart and Marguerite. They escaped in a life pod and were tossed around on a violent alien sea. For weeks they were battered by relentless storms until the weather finally broke and they washed up on the only patch of land in sight, a floating island held up by massive Asian creatures. It was a strange sanctuary and it would become the first chapter of their long fight for survival. On this bizarre floating island, the survivors found a moment of peace. Using whatever they could salvage from the Degasi wreckage, they built their first real home. And what they built was a testament to their will to live, a central habitat with 2 observatories perched on the island's peaks, offering stunning views. It was here their roles started to take shape. Bart, the resident agriculture expert, set up grow beds to cultivate marble melons and potatoes. Paul, always the cautious leader, tried to keep things orderly, constantly worried about what lurked beneath the waves. And Marguerite, the relentless pragmatist, was always pushing the limits, scouting the island and sizing up its alien wildlife. But this paradise was precarious, and so was the group's dynamic. Their personalities just didn't mesh. Paul's fear of risk was constant conflict with Marguerite's aggressive survival instincts. One of their voice logs captures it perfectly. Marguerite, tired being stuck on the island, argues sooner or later we'll get our feet wet. Paul files back that she's being reckless, and this argument really sets the stage for everything to come. Soon enough, the planet itself seemed to turn on them. Vicious storms flooded Bart's precious gardens, and a massive landslide buried part of their main habitat, forcing them into cramped observatories. It was around this time that Marguerite, while out scouting, found a strange purple tablet half buried in the sand, proof that they weren't the first intelligent beings here. With their home compromised and their food supply dwindling, the island was no longer safe. Marguerite proposed a radical idea: go deeper. She had scouted a cave system hundreds of meters down, rich with resources and sheltered from the storms. It was a terrifying leap, but staying put meant starving to death, so Paul reluctantly agreed. They packed what they could and descended into the glowing, eerie darkness of the Jellyshroom Caves. Their new home, the Jellyshroom Cave, was a world of surreal bioluminescent beauty. For a while, it seemed Marguerite's gamble had paid off. They were safe from the storms, but the psychological toll of living in a confined alien world was starting to wear on them. Those deep-seated differences in how they thought they should survive, they were becoming impossible to ignore. Paul, still holding out for a rescue, insisted they maintain a distress signal. Bart, the scientist, lost himself in his work, using the new observatory to study the weird and wonderful creatures of the cave. Marguerite, though, believed survival was a fight. Her logs from this time show her growing desire to go even deeper, having detected strange energy signals far below. She grew bolder, wrestling stalkers for their teeth to make reinforced glass and dragging back specimens for Bart to study, but her aggressive tactics grated on Paul. You can hear him telling his son in one log, tell her I'm right, but Bart, stuck in the middle, just replies, you're both wrong. It was here they made 2 horrifying discoveries. First, they realised that whatever had shot them down would do the same to any rescue ship. They were truly alone. And second, far more terrifying was what Bart uncovered through his research. They were all sick. An alien unknown bacterium was rewriting their genetic code. They now had a name for it, the Kara. This discovery changed everything. It was no longer about survival, it was a race for a cure. A race that would push them into the deepest, darkest part of the crater. Desperate to understand the Kara, the survivors made one last, fateful move. They descended to 500 meters into the crushing blackness of the deep Grand Reef and built their final home on the edge of an abyss. Down here, the tension finally exploded. Paul accused Marguerite of insubordination that would get them killed, while she saw his caution as pure cowardice. The breaking point came when Marguerite, out hunting, provoked a Reaper Leviathan and led it back to their base. Her log from that moment is just chaos. "I've had it with you risking our life," Paul screams. Marguerite just fires back, "I'm just bringing them home," referring to the creatures for Bart's research. What happened next is a frantic, horrifying scene pieced together from their last communications. The Reaper, drawn by the noise, attacked the base and tore through the hull. In the chaos, Paul Torgal saw something. Strange lights of unknown origin deep in the abyss. We'll never know for sure what they were, maybe a crab squid, something else entirely, but he swam towards them, away from the wreck and into the darkness, never to be seen again. By some miracle, Bart Torgal survived the attack because he was outside the habitat when it happened. Devastated and alone, Bart somehow made the grueling swim back towards the surface. After a brief stay in the relative safety of the shallows, he returned to the very first observatory they built back on the floating island. It's here we found his final, heartbreaking log. Weakened by the advanced stages of the Kara infection, he looks out at the sunlight. Marguerite and father are now part of the ecosystem of this incredible planet, he says, his weak voice. It's reassuring to know that when I'll go, I'll join them. Until then, well, there's always the view. He died shortly after, his body lost to the planet. And Marguerite Mader, the mercenary who started it all, her final log from the deep is one of pure chaos. She describes fighting the Reaper, jamming a shard of metal into its eye as it dragged her and the base's wreckage into the void. For a decade, her fate was a mystery. Well, the Torgal story ends there, in tragedy. But what about the mercenary who stared down a Leviathan and refused to back down? Well, her story was far from over. Before we get into her unbelievable fate, if you're enjoying this deep dive into Subnautica's lore, consider subscribing for more tales from the abyss. So no, Marguerite Mader did not die down in the deep Grand Reef. As she fought the mortally wounded Reaper Leviathan, it spiraled deeper into the void. After she finally killed the beast, she surfaced only to find herself miles out in the open ocean. When the Reaper's massive corpse floated to the surface, she used her incredible survival skills to turn the dead Leviathan itself into a raft. For weeks she lived off its flesh and fat, drifting until the ocean currents carried her to the planet's Arctic region, Sector 0. Here, in the frozen wastes, Marguerite didn't just survive, she thrived. Over the next 10 years, she built new bases, tamed a snowstalker she named Preston, and became a legend of the ice fields. When Robin arrives in Subnautica below zero, she finds the hardened mercenary is still alive, a grizzled but formidable survivor who somehow resisted the Kara bacterium. She stands there as the sole survivor of the Degasi, a monument to pure, stubborn resilience. When you look at it, the story of the Degasi is a tragedy in 3 parts, with each survivor representing a totally different way to face the horrors of Planet 4546b. Paul Torgal, the cautious leader, was paralysed by his fear and couldn't adapt. Bart Torgal, the curious scientist, saw the wonder in his new world, but was completely killed by its invisible dangers. And Marguerite Mader, the aggressive warrior, met the planet's hostility with her own, and against all odds, was the one who endured. Their story serves as a chilling prequel to our own journey. We find their abandoned homes, listen to their desperate last words, and learn from their mistakes. Their story shows us that surviving on this planet takes a delicate balance. You need some of Paul's caution, a lot of Bart's intelligence, and a heavy dose of Marguerite's sheer will to fight back. The ghosts of the Degasi are still there, haunting the waters of Subnautica. A permanent, tragic reminder of those who came before and those who fell. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It means the world, and I just want to say thank you so much for the support on the last few videos, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.